Luke Shaw was probably my man of the match. Like, the amount of on the left side, he controlled that side of the pitch. There's bolts he put straight into the box. Like, I was looking at the team, I was like, yeah, he had a great game. Obviously, Maguire had a great game, but Luke Shaw for me is a standout man of the match that game. Okay. It sounds weird not giving it to someone like Kane, but like
But Kane's doing what he's meant to do.
Yeah, that's his job. It's not.
And other than put the ball in the back of the net a couple of times, he was involved in a little bit of the build-up play, but I think most of the build-up play was sort of behind him, and he was getting himself into that position, which he hadn't been doing in previous games. When he'd been too far back and not getting right on the last defender, ready to nod a ball in as it got whipped into the box. So I feel like Kane did what he needed to do. I mean, if he got a hat-trick, then you've got to say, give him man of the match. But I think a lot of people would agree with you with Luke Shaw. But that being said, who would be your player of the tournament so far from an England perspective?
From England perspective, people will only give it to Sterling because it's Sterling how he scored so far, obviously. I would also be tempted to how Luke Shaw's played in the previous matches. I'll hold my hands up. I don't like him as a player. Even Man United fans don't like him as a player. But you've got to give it to him how well he's played this whole tournament. Like the constant press from the left. Like he's running all the way up the pitch. He's making the plays. At some point, you saw the match. Harry Kane had dropped in on the left. Luke Shaw was up and crossing into Sterling in the middle. It's like this fluidity. Luke Shaw's picking it up. He's running with it. Fair play to him. Currently, if he has another screamer against Denmark, push towards the final. If nothing amazing comes out of nowhere, then yeah, definitely Luke Shaw.
I think I've heard a couple of people say Pickford because he's made a couple of decent saves. I think if he carries on, then there's a fair shout. Like if we go through the tournament,
gravy. He's got a skin fade, England shirt on. He's different to Everton. He's not Everton Pickford.
He's just slicked it back.
Yeah, he's got a new trim, marinated in. He's loving life.
And then the other one, I think, biggest surprise is Calvin Phillips. Most people wouldn't have even had him on the starting 11.
No, but he's cemented in that squad.
Like I still think him and Rice are the two names that it doesn't matter who else plays everywhere else. Him and Rice are going to be the starting ones because they're allowing the freedom for Shaw and Walker to get up the wings because they're covering at the back and they're dropping back. Rice is playing as a left back at times to fill the space and things like that. So I think one of them two. I think if they get a goal, then they put themselves in that contention for player of the tournament from an England perspective. The other thing is if Saka starts the next match, because obviously he brought Sancho in, which people weren't expecting because he'd left Sancho out and left him not even on the bench for a couple of games.
But he's resting Saka, I think, and similar with Grealish. So we got to that 60-minute mark, but this is the Grealish time, 60 minutes, Grealish comes on.
But he wasn't needed.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't want you're keeping him nice and rested. Same with Saka wasn't needed. You start the whole team. You got Bellingham came on. Like you saw loads of stuff happening because he's like, well, rest on my players. Don't want to risk any injury. Get my yellow carded players off. So Rice and Phillips came off the pitch and that.
But I think it's mental that we've got Jordan Henderson, who in the last 2 years has won the Premier League and the Champions League, and we don't need him. But
he's coming out of injury, is why he wasn't supposed to
start. I know.
If that injury is almost a blessing in disguise because
it's given Calvin
Phillips
injured.
Yeah, it's given that new midfield, a new look on the midfield rather than going Henderson in and then who we put with Henderson. It's now gone. Okay, we've got Calvin Phillips and we've got Rice, and it's like that works really nicely.
Yeah.
You may not have seen this if you hadn't had the unfortunate injury for Henderson earlier in the season.
And I think the argument is yes, Henderson on the ball is probably better than the two of Rice and Phillips, but I think Rice and Phillips give more in terms of energy in that engine room of the midfield, getting up and down box to box and covering the defence as well. I think they offer more there.
Definitely.